Welcome to the Tech Panel.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The podcast where tech minds meet.
Oh hey, before we get started today, don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell.
Welcome to the Tech Panel. I'm your host, James Arvin.
And I'm Sarah Bowers, and this is the podcast where we dive into cutting-edge ideas, innovations, and technologies transforming industries.
Each week, we sit down with the leaders and disruptors at the forefront of these changes to hear their stories, explore their vision, and uncover the challenges they're solving in real time.
Today, we're thrilled to welcome someone who's redefining the e-commerce game. Martin Corcoran is the CEO of Summit and Productcaster, two companies at the forefront of transforming online retail through cutting-edge marketing performance and proprietary technology.
They say they're the change makers in online retailing. That's a bold claim, and we're about to find out why. This is the Tech Panel.
Hi, Martin. How are you going? Thank you for joining us today.
Hi. Yeah, thanks for having me. What time is it where you are?
Oh, that's a good question.
It's late at night. It's about 8 p.m. over here. So what's that, 9 a.m. over there in London?
9 a.m. with a cup of tea over here.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We have like an Irish whiskey, an Irish coffee, I think you'd say about now.
Yeah, well, with the English cricket team are playing New Zealand at the moment, so hopefully it's in the balance after day one.
Yeah, yes. Well, thank you for joining us today. We first wanted to start by, I guess, getting you to describe, what your products are, what they do, and the competitive edge that your system brings to the market.
Yeah, so Summit and Productcaster. So I'm CEO and owner with my business partner of two kind of quite distinct businesses. One of them is your classic agency model, Summit Media. So essentially you would outsource some of your marketing to us in the likes of kind of your paid channels, Google, Microsoft, Meta, TikTok, that type of thing. Also your organic SEO and your affiliate marketing. So which is kind of the payment upon sale kind of element of the marketing. So you'd outsource that to us, and my team over there, with about 90 of us, are out there delivering that on behalf of mainly e-commerce brands. So we get judged on really how many sales come in and the cost of those sales, so the ROAS. That's Summit Media, a bit of a classic agency model. On the other side of the business, we have a piece of technology under the brand called Productcaster. Now, Productcaster came about because in Europe, we have some very funny, fiddly regulators. Now, if you think about how Google has always operated, and it does this in markets in the Southern Hemisphere, it does this in North American markets, but Europe is different. The EU in 2017 looked at Google and they said, it feels a bit unfair that you can be both advertiser and comparison shopping partner. Because I don't know whether you're familiar, I think we're all e-commerce shoppers and Google have a 90+% share in pretty much every market. But what happens is there's a carousel at the top when you do a Google search for a product. You can search any old product. We particularly sell a lot of football shirts, soccer shirts. So if you did a soccer shirt search, you would get a row of kind of product listing advert pictures, right? And there you go. That's my watch. And then in 2017, the European Union said, well, actually, be a price comparison website and to be a advertising platform, you can do something called self-preferencing, which means you can put the product to the top of the carousel that will make you the most advertising revenues.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel very consumer first. It doesn't feel very fair for the average person doing a search who doesn't understand the nuances between the media landscape. So they divorced the two and they said, Google, you must have competition in this space. There must be other people providing these services. And that's where Productcaster was born. So since 2017, we are actually competing with an element of Google through what is called comparison shopping services. So we help a bunch of retailers and brands. So, some really big ones, think Levi's, think IKEA, think Wayfair, think, some real juggernauts. We help them serve their Google adverts through that shopping carousel. We're able to help them get discounts versus what they would pay with Google. We're also able to kind of provide them with a lot of experience, a lot of support, which ultimately drives performance. And if you think about some of these retailers, particularly in Europe, they're putting 10, 15, 20 million pounds through this channel. So a 20% saving is, huge, right? Several million.
Yep.
And then also if you can get a 20% performance improvement using Productcaster CSS, using our feed management tools, the uplift is absolutely worth going for. So that's kind of that. There you go. You just had the full pitch. Do you want to buy?
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more. So you've mentioned obviously Google is where, that the product might appear on the carousel there, but you're also, I guess, advertising on other platforms?
Yeah. Yeah. So, we have a piece under Productcaster, which is the technology brand. We have a piece called Feed Manager. Now, Feed Manager, we're specifically retail and e-commerce. And if you think about what it takes in retail and e-commerce to sell something online, you have to find the right customers in the right channel at the right time, which is your basic marketing element. But you also need to suck all the cool information out around the product and serve it on the advertising platform so it hits just particular different audience groups. Now, if you think that you can, the choice when you go on and you do a search, whether it be Meta, whether it be Google, whoever, it chooses from kind of 60, 70 pieces of little pieces of information around that product, but it'll only show you 5. Now, as we enter the world of AI and algorithms and how that's working, the idea is that you serve as much information to the platforms as possible. You make it as easy to read as possible, and then the platform itself will identify the user and it will pick just the perfect information. So, for example, for me, maybe I need to see more about reviews. Maybe you need to see more about price. Maybe it's about whether it's available in the local store. Maybe it's all around color. Maybe it's around the kind of the medical benefits or the claimed benefits that it can bring. All these informations get fed in the feed, and then the platform and the advertisers get to choose which of those kind of criteria they want to put forward, and ultimately that will drive you more clicks, better kind of efficiency, and ultimately more sales.
Yeah, so it's more targeted to the consumer. I guess, that's always been the mission of marketing, to provide, this more targeted advertising, to improve the lives of customers, I guess, for example. But over the years, is it actually improving, I guess, the lives of customers, or is it simply just getting more ads in front of people?
It's a really good question. The reality of it is, I think on the marketing front, I think certainly in Europe and probably further afield, the cost of living crisis has really affected consumer behavior. So what does that mean? It means generally the last 2 years, 3 years, we had a really lovely e-commerce online bounce coming out of COVID, where everyone thought, oh, this is the new way of things. But the reality of it is customers have returned to store. Customers have stopped spending quite so freely with interest rates rising quite so much. Sure, we're all looking at the interest rates. Is it better to have a 4 or 5% interest rate, or is it better to go and spend that money? These are the genuine kind of conversations that consumers are having at home. So is it getting easier? No. I think there's a macroeconomic trend. I think there was a really interesting piece of research by Gartner recently, essentially saying that actually marketing budgets in the Western world, you consider significant kind of big kind of European and North American and markets in particular, marketing budgets are getting shrunk by 15% generally year on year. So marketing directors are asked to do more with less. So I would say it's getting harder at the moment, but that is because there's not a great deal of kind of growth in the broader world economy, in the market, in the UK economy, North American economy, Australian economy. I think they're all trying to find their feet in what is a period of kind of instability post COVID, and then also this is the year where there's been God knows how many elections around the world. So the currency markets and the financial markets have also responded with the significant amount of caution, which and that trickle down effect into business. Yeah, we've felt that.
I find this interesting. You're saying that businesses are struggling from an e-commerce perspective, but maybe it's different in the UK. When we did a little bit of research before we came onto the show, it looked like, at least from the Australian perspective, e-commerce is booming. I mean, we're seeing lots of closures, like brick and mortar stores. Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess my take on that was just that the market is getting heavily saturated on the online space. That's just because, at least I'm seeing, it's just more people are gravitating towards online services. But I never really heard that businesses are suffering online. Do you think that less people or people are purchasing less, or that there's just so many more online that it's hard for businesses to maintain continuity?
No, undoubtedly volumes are declining online at the moment.
Yeah.
In the UK, certainly. Mature European countries pretty similar.
Yeah.
I think there is, if you think about the UK in particular, we're obviously island nation,
Mm-hmm.
pretty close to some other big trading partners,
Mm-hmm.
so the environment for e-commerce to take hold was really significant. In Europe and certainly in the UK, we pride ourselves. We think we're the most mature e-commerce market in the world. A lot of the testing, a lot of the betas, a lot of the most sophisticated kind of approaches come from this country because it's quite small. It's easy to deliver things, not particularly not massively expensive. Space is at a premium in the UK, which it isn't in Australia as well. I think we're probably 10th of the size of your country. So if you think about how you can deliver to all parts of the country pretty cost effectively. So we got to about a 30% share of online. Really quickly, ahead of pretty much most of the markets, China and other markets excluded, because it's a bit harder to get the data to understand their online share. But the reality is, I think it's kind of peaked a little bit, and we're seeing a plateauing, and we're seeing actually stores and bricks and mortar take share from online now, and we have done for the last 2 years.
Wow.
So I think it's something to do with the maturity. I think it's something to do with the size and scale of the country. I imagine in Australia, there's more kind of supply chain and more of that back end stuff starting to open up, make it easier to do e-commerce so that you don't have to wait 10, 15, 20, 30 days for a delivery. And just on that point, in the UK, we are seeing a significant rise in the likes of Temu and Shein and
That's right.
I'm not sure if they've come to Australia yet,
Definitely.
Absolutely.
but they are very significantly, and Shein are going to list in London this year, I believe, or next year. A significant effort, and it is very disruptive. They have a lot of money. They hold very little stock. It's all made to order. It's all flown in based upon your purchase. It's been very, very disruptive for the e-commerce landscape, and I think they're just getting going. So, it's a real watch this space moment for us.
And this is kind of where I was heading, right? I interpreted, I think, your question to say that the market people are not purchasing retail as much, but it sounds like now you're saying they are purchasing as much, if not more, just not in local stores. They're purchasing with online retailers from Asia more.
Even then, you're saying that
I think
most of
the
it's
overall volumes are
down.
declining.
Yeah, all the volumes
Temu
are
is down,
declined.
Shein's
In
down?
general, like people aren't spending as much.
Right.
In general, on shopping, on
Yeah, no, I mean,
unnecessary items.
the
Is that what you mean?
budgets are down.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
in general,
Yeah.
I think the last 2 years, you've seen the whole kind of retail industry propped up in the UK and Europe by inflation. So you might sell £100 worth of goods in a year, but the reality is 10% of those goods isn't coming from growth, it's coming from the fact that you put the price up by 10%, cope with significantly extra cost. It's interesting that you're seeing something different in Australia, and we're I think certainly in the UK and Europe, it definitely feels like we've kind of peaked on the e-commerce thing. Going to steadily have some growth. It'll be slow, but
Sure.
we're not.
Yeah.
I think COVID disrupted an awful lot of people's expectations here, both going into COVID and then also coming out of COVID, when people could essentially get back to their previous shopping patterns.
In terms of your business, I guess future-proofing it, or I guess staying afloat. If people aren't spending as much, if the marketing budgets aren't there, what are you putting in place? What have you got in place for the future? Are you looking at using AI? Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think certainly from a Productcaster perspective, we're pretty privileged. We're in a recession-proof kind of industry because we're able to offer cost savings. Do you want to do your marketing more effectively? We'll implement this piece of technology and you can potentially save 20%. And then if we do our job on, service management, we'll stick an extra 20% on the performance. So you actually get that, the story is a 40% performance improvement in certain instances. That's pretty easy. On the Summit and the agency side of things, I think we're an independent, and we're up against some of those really big kind of network behemoths. So I think actually, again, we have a pretty nice position in the market. We don't pretend we're full service. If you want to do the very best work on e-commerce, you come to Summit and you come to Productcaster. And actually, it's about being focused. It's about being really intelligent and motivated, creating scalable, repeatable things in one vertical. We could do travel, we could do, finance, but we choose not to. We choose to only do e-commerce because what we want to do is create scalable, repeatable processes that we know work. And just back to your comment on AI, yeah, I mean, all of the kind of platforms and the interfaces and the methodologies that we're using, they've been using AI for 5 years. We just haven't called it AI.
Yeah.
So if you think about kind of Google and Gemini, and they've got this new thing called Performance Max, which has completely revolutionized the whole advertising industry and has been very disruptive. It's 100% AI driven. So we've been on the forefront of that for a long period of time. I think Summit, we are a very kind of Google focused business.
Right.
So there is no better AI innovator and developer. Well, maybe you might say Microsoft and ChatGPT and all those things at the moment, but Google are absolutely at the forefront of that. So we are the beneficiaries of all their great work. We're just ready to catch their developments and catch their innovations, turn it into great work and profits for our clients.
Obviously, AI is being touted as this massively transformative experience for every business out there we talk to these days. And I can imagine on the back end, this would be doing just so much work in administration and improving the lives of people. But from the customer side of things, right, does this really actually change anything from my side? I still go to Google or I go wherever, I search for something and I find it. Where is AI? Where does the rubber meet the road for AI and e-commerce?
A really good question. And it is really, I think this is the first kind of, so you're in Black Friday week now. So my office, we've got breakfast going on over there because it's a bit manic and everyone's, this is the week, this is our cup final week. But I think the reality of AI in search, and I think for a long time, a lot of people have kind of said, AI, ChatGPT, it's fine, it's okay. But actually, I saw a really good high volume example of where it's going to go. And that high volume example has using ChatGPT is, let's say my wife, okay, I'm going to go ChatGPT. I'm going to say, can you recommend me 5 brilliant Christmas presents for my, I'm not going to say how old she is, ex-age wife, who is quite sporty, very beautiful, mother of 3, give her a bit of description. I put that search in, it comes back with the top 5 things for me. Now, those 5 things aren't because people have paid to be in that, which is the key thing how marketing is currently working in most places. You pay more, you go higher up the list, you get higher up the list, you get more clicks. So AI is not really considering that. AI is taking everything I'm saying, ChatGPT, taking everything I'm saying, and it's going to come back with a list of 5 things. So let's just say, hypothetically, of those 5 things, it comes back with a yoga mat. Okay, I can then, the second search, and this is what's happening, is me saying, great idea, ChatGPT, yoga mat, please find me the best valued yoga mat on price, ranking, availability. You put 2 or 3 criteria in, and there's your answer.
And that's
it comes back
exactly what
with,
I want.
This is the yoga mat for you. You're not going to find it at a better price. You're not going to find anything with better reviews. You're not going to find better quality. Those 2 fundamental help me narrow down my criteria, and then help me, once I figured out what I want, help me get bang for buck on the money I put in. That is how it's going to be used in retail search going forward. And, as a consumer, I'm fairly sure I'll be doing that. Once someone explained that's how it's being used to me, I was like, okay, well, that's going to make shopping pretty easy, I would say.
Yeah.
That I had this conversation with another guest on the podcast recently, who's an AI expert, and I said, how does, I think, I don't Google search, I'd use ChatGPT to find things, so I'm not getting any of those sponsored posts, I'm not getting any of the algorithms in that. So how's it monetized? How is that from your point of view there?
It isn't at the moment. Now, what I think will happen, and this is all conjecture, I don't know.
I'm curious.
So obviously you've got, I don't know if you're familiar with Gemini, which is the Google version of ChatGPT. Now, they were a bit slow out the blocks, I think. And, they let ChatGPT took market share, excited that, and it was probably a better product, probably. I mean, I'm not one to say whether that's fact or not.
It's hard for trillion-dollar companies to keep up these days. Poor guys.
Yeah, no, it's hard. But what's going to happen? I think Google are throwing their kitchen sink at the next evolution of search involving Gemini, and I think their trusted position with customers, trusted position with brands, their ability to monetize the eyeballs they get and monetize the ecosystem, they are substantially better at doing that than Microsoft. As an example, if you're saying that's their competitor, this is completely heartland wheelhouse Google. Now it's interesting they've got a competitor, but they still have the significant share advantage. They still have the significant advertising kind of revenues, but also the ability to fulfill and satisfy those advertising revenues with brands and agencies. So I was with Google yesterday doing classic quarterly business review. You know, they are fantastic, absolutely fantastic at helping you understand the landscape and give you ideas for growth. No other tech platform really does it in that type of way. So Google has this infrastructure that is made to monetize their retail, their estate. And my hypothesis is they will bring that to bear in the next 1 or 2 years and create something equally good, if not better. But anyway, that's my wild west hypothesis.
I think it's just a
great.
matter of time before they're going to be somehow managing to monetize that from a consumer point of view.
If you imagine Google's making, you know, in terms of, let's just say, kind of paid advertising, search advertising, that type of thing, making vastly more than anyone else in that space. You know, yes, you've got your paid social, your TikTok, your Meta, slightly different searches. But if you think like, you know, they have such a head start in that space from infrastructure and being able to, they understand and are very focused on monetizing their estate. And I think that in itself, they have been so good at doing that. My trust that they will find a way to do that in the near future is pretty high.
Yeah. And it also, I guess, depends on the consumers' shopping trends. For example, I'm a Google searcher. Some of my friends buy everything through Instagram. They'll find something, they'll buy all their clothes basically from seeing something on Instagram or seeing Instagram ads. They'll search Instagram for products and for items and things like that. They use that as their search engine for shopping, basically, whereas I don't. So, it depends, where they shop.
Am I allowed to ask, are you Apple or are you Android? What kind of...
I'm Apple. I'm Apple.
I tried Android.
Back to
I'm
Apple.
Yeah.
Because the circle to search thing is going to be really, really important to retail. So I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, tell us about it.
Essentially, there's this kind of new, I'm trying to think, I don't know, channel maybe, but essentially you take a picture, you circle it, and it comes back. So if I'm looking at someone around the office here and I really like their shirt, I could take a picture of them with their permission, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then Google would come back with where I can go and buy that look. And I think that is, again, going to be more and more significant in the e-commerce and retail landscape.
I use that at the moment. Yeah, I've got the Google app and I take a photo of an item, a bottle of wine or whatever it is that I liked, or, even a present that I got for the kids. And I go, oh, I like that. I want to buy that for so-and-so's birthday. I take a photo of it on the Google app and it shows me where to get it from. I already do that, or I do it with all sorts of things. So
and anecdotally, I was told that started with bird watchers.
Yeah, I do.
People wanted to know what kind of bird this bird was, and there was this thing where they like try and take snap, and it will try and recognize the bird.
I do it with plants, but I'm also in the landscaping.
I do it for plants a lot. Yeah, I do. I actually have.
It's full of all my plant searches.
I'm kind of worried though. I'm imagining right now if Google truly rolls this system out and is successful in it, this will well and truly, if you can say they're not now, establish them as a monopoly in the market. I mean, right now we're using ChatGPT and all these other pretty comparatively competitive tools on the market for AI services, but if Google releases it and it's got the shopping in there, like where else are you going to go?
Unless the government regulates and says you have to have competition, same sort of thing.
If you look at a lot of the markets around the world, if you look at the Department for Justice case going on at the moment, if you look at what happened in the EU, look at what's happening in the UK,
Mhm.
That is exactly the question people are asking. There is this concept called self-preferencing. So I actually sit on the Digital Markets Act, which is the European Union kind of regulation as to the future of vertical search in both retail and travel.
Great.
So I go to Brussels and participate in these workshops around what is fair for all parties. And that is definitely one of the concerns. But if you think about it, we just talked about, like, I'm going to Google it.
Mm.
I mean, if that isn't their dominant position, they have their own word
Yeah.
for what you are going to do. They already have a 90% share in search in pretty much most modern kind of in most environments and most markets. So that they are pretty dominant. That's why they are the biggest company in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Curious on this topic of, I guess, ethics or monopolizing the market and things like that. So obviously, hyper personalized searches is, a lot of probably what you do, and a lot of the, I guess, in my point of view, the way that I'm advertised to, it's hyper personalized. Is there, I guess, a line that we're crossing into, manipulation or, anything that you think is in there with, I guess, the aggressive strategies of this hyper personalized search? Is it manipulative? Is it crossing the line? Where is the line?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think about that. Like, if you're really just building your strategy off of learning more about me and based off of the things that make me tick and pitching something to me that is going to incite me to purchase something, right? If I weren't to purchase that at any other certain time, like, surely this must be crossing into some line of manipulation.
I think it's a good question. I think for me, there's always, if I knock off the second part of your kind of statement question,
Mm.
and you just consider the idea that they're trying to learn about you, understand your behavior, and then, manifest that in something that might be practical or useful that you might end up buying. No one's
That's the
making you
mission.
buy this
Yeah.
thing.
Mm.
So if you miss off the the kind of the, let's say, the statement at the end, which is actually, is this good and is it ethically right? The first part is actually, I think, perfectly fine. What they're trying to do is improve your experience, which I think is better. We could go back to the old days where there is very little targeted advertising, very little availability, and you're searching in the dark for long periods for things that you need. That would be a step backwards, in my opinion.
Mm.
I think if you kind of roll it forward a little bit as well, they're able to get that data because essentially they're providing you services. And you're not paying for those services. Those services are given to you for free. Now, whether that be Meta, whether that be Google, whether that be ChatGPT, these are things that have been invented. That there has to be some model that sustains them, or else you don't get. So that there is a value exchange. They're going to give you something for free. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to use it. And you can also control your permissions, your cookies, all those types of things, your consents. So in theory, certainly in Europe, the onus is on me. I've got the control, not the retailer. I can decline all their things. I can turn them off. I can go incognito. So actually, it's on me if I want to do that. I often just click yeah, because I get
It's
like we
annoying.
all do.
Yeah.
But the reality is there's a value exchange, and I think the value exchange is fair at the moment. But then again, I've got a business built around
Exactly.
trying
I
to
know.
provide
Exactly.
relevant and tailored adverts to people who are in the market to buy.
Where is the line from your point of view? I know you've got a business in this industry, but where's the line that would be crossed?
Well, I think the line is sharing data. So again, we have very sophisticated. I think the European Union has done some pretty good things, to be honest with you, and I think it's easy for other markets to look at Europe and say you're overly regulated. You make it too hard to do business, and I think that is probably a fair comment in some instances. But I think where the European Union has done well, probably with its kind of vaguely socialist kind of roots and centre left leanings, I think it has stepped in where it needs to step in. So it
Mhm.
stepped in on Google and said, you can't be both advertiser and comparison shopping service because essentially you're just going to serve the products that make you the most money. And that is not good for customers. So it divorced those two. Done. over and out, right? Two different businesses, held at arm's length, firewall down the middle, perfect. If you look at GDPR, so GDPR is how businesses in Europe can use and transfer, and essentially, what are you doing with first-party data, red data, and how are you collecting it? What are you going to do with it? How are you going to store with it? We have the strictest rules in any world market around GDPR. If I'm found to be non-GDPR compliant, they can fine me 4% of my revenues at the blink of an eye. So I lose. The risk for me is enormous if I am not compliant. So I am always compliant because the risk is so substantial.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether GDPR is a thing where you guys are, if you have similar rules or whatever, but it generally, I don't think, exists in other territories in the same way. And that's because the European Union is very highly regulated. And I think for all the regulation that makes it hard to do business, and there is plenty of that as well, there's also plenty of regulation that says we are going to really protect our citizens.
Yeah. That definitely is always very important in terms of anything to do with data or AI is having the right, governance and regulations in policy. And I guess that answers the question. That's the line. Yeah.
How do you think there is enough regulation in Australia where you are? Do you think that your government is stepping in as frequently enough and as often enough? Obviously, all over the press this morning, the social media thing.
A
a lot of it. I don't think they're stepping in enough. I would say bulk majority of the time, I would say they're not stepping in.
I think they're quite, but I think
they're reactive. They're not proactive. That's not the same as stepping in. Putting out a fire is not the same for preventing it from occurring to begin with.
Yeah.
But everyone here in the UK is looking at your social media ban for
under 16.
Under 16. Yeah, that's exactly a perfect example.
Going, wow. Yeah, but that hasn't happened in other. You're the lead market. You're taking the lead on that, and I think you're taking the lead on what I think is the biggest issue for young people and
definitely.
the broader online industry.
Yeah,
and I woke up. I was like, I've got a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and I read the press this morning, been following it quite closely, because I wouldn't naturally associate Australia with a highly regulated market.
Yeah,
I think
normally
European
we're
Union,
behind the curve with that sort of things, but that one is good.
Fantastic.
It's impressive.
Good.
Yeah.
I want us to copy you. You're taking the lead, and I think that is an amazingly bold, gutsy move, and I think other markets should and will follow you.
Hold on. Let's take a step back for something. I really want to make sure we're distilling what's being said. We have a marketing specialist on the call that works with some of the largest companies in the world in another market where this is not being proposed, and you believe that this is a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For kids,
absolutely.
I guess, under
woke up this
16,
morning and I thought I hope we copy that. I hope we follow that. I think obviously there are a lot of negative impacts of social media. I think people need to be mature enough, able enough, emotionally stable enough to be able to use it. Also, when you talk about the boundaries in ethics, I absolutely, completely agree. It's not acceptable to advertise to young developing minds and start to position things that they haven't quite figured out who they are yet.
Yeah.
I don't, I certainly don't. And thankfully, the European Union, we're not as hot as you are over there. But again, there is significant regulation to make sure that, that wouldn't happen. And, from a business perspective, we don't want that. What we want is mature, affluent, wealthy people who are in the market to buy things that will make their life better. And I think there's a very clear distinction. And actually, as we got onto the topic, I think where is the line? Well, the line is definitely at adults and children, right? And I think we've got to do everything we can to protect young people. It's very, very, very hard for them in a number of walks of life, and no point making it harder for them.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. So this is something that's really near and dear to my heart right now, and I can respect from a young person's perspective that they're like, you're taking a toy away from me. That's not fair. But I feel like we grew up in the age of the internet, and we all know what it used to look like before it got here. And every single year leading up to today, everyone always said, we're going to get better. We're going to be more mature. We're not going to abuse the internet anymore. And it just feels like it's been getting more and more chaotic for the average young person. Like who would we be right now if the internet was designed for children and it was targeted to make them want to do things in a
Well,
way
it
that they
is.
didn't really.
It's currently, there are things that push to children, which is
So
just
that's
so
my
wrong,
point.
which is
Yeah.
great that it's,
Who would we be? Oh, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And now they're like, don't
Yeah.
do it to me. And it's like, I feel like we're doing this for you, not to you.
Yeah, I definitely, as a parent of young children, I'm glad that mine will now be growing up where majority of their classmates won't have the phones and are aware of
Lucky,
this already. So,
Yeah.
I'm hopeful of that.
I mean, I totally agree, and I think it's also quite interesting. You talk about us growing up, but the internet was kind of the inception of the internet when I was about 16. So I imagine you might have been
Mhm.
slightly younger at that point, but I think we've kind of grown, and the pace of change has been ferocious. It hasn't felt ferocious,
No,
right?
it hasn't.
It felt as though it's gone pretty smoothly, and every few years something new came, and they adapted and they tweaked. But I think in the last 3 to 4 years, like the pace of change has been like a cliff edge for young people.
God, yeah.
So you have your first forays into to online and doing all those things, and then there is this enormous like juggernaut thing coming at you every 3-6 months.
Yeah.
Right. If you think about where TikTok came from, I've never heard of TikTok 4 years ago. It literally didn't exist, and then overnight, it became the thing. Right. And if you think about how that worked with Google had to stave off 10, 20 really well-known competitors over a 10-year period
Yep.
to get to where it got to.
Mhm.
TikTok didn't have anything like that.
No. And it felt like for me, someone gave me TikTok. I remember when it first came out, and I'm like, I love technology. I want to use all the tools that are available out there. Hell yeah, give it to me. And the first thing I noticed, because it was a young person who showed it to me, they're like, this is TikTok. And I'll never forget this. The first things that we flicked through were sex, sales, and politics. And I couldn't help but think, why the hell is this what you get to see? Isn't this for children?
No, I know, and it was funny. I was having a chat with a fellow on the train. I do a lot of going up and down from the north to London and back, and one of the guys on the train was saying, I won't say which politics or whatever, but got on the train, started flicking. By the time he got off the train, 2 hours later, he'd completely changed his political views.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's like, I know it happened. And then in the taxi, I kind of, on the way home after the train, I was kind of started to get leaving my sense. Like, what? Hold on, what's it? You realize it's been completely.
I've just been radicalized in 2 hours. Yeah. And that happens. Yeah.
No,
You
it
do it
doesn't.
yourself because you're like, one more.
Yeah.
Before you know it, you know the full back catalogue of all the things that certain politicians and positions and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. No, it's almost like the Wild West, when it's just in kids' hands.
Yeah.
It's just there's no controlling it. So it's good that I'm very much glad that this
I really hope it goes
this
through.
this has
I
come
really
through.
do, honestly.
I know it's your podcast and you're meant to be asking me the questions, but it's quite
I
nice
like
to hear
this.
because you
No,
have
this is good.
This is
a
great.
huge
It's a good
breadth of. One of the things I wanted to ask you was what technology are you most excited about? Because I've got a pretty narrow field of vision quite often, which is e-commerce, retail. What should I be excited about? What are you excited about?
Ooh.
I didn't tell you I was going to ask that question.
No,
did I?
I like that.
It's a
It's
really
good.
good one. No.
This is getting edited out.
Yeah, no, I love
No,
this. This is great. Maybe
yeah.
we should eat.
We should have prepared for this better,
No,
I
maybe
feel
we
like.
should get the each guest to kind of ask us a question each time. Throw us something.
Absolutely.
All right, well, you think about it and come back to me.
All right.
I'm excited, but I'm not as tech savvy as Arvin here. But I'm excited about the potential for AI to remove the mundane tasks from my life, to clear up some time for creativity and spending more time with kids, so I can really do the 4-day work week where I actually say I'm doing a 4-day work week, but I end up working 5 or 6 days. I want to I'm excited about that. And it's so close. I'm already kind of trying to streamline my life by always trying to make it more efficient, but I'm just excited about it. It's moving at such a rapid pace, which excites me as well. And I think it's just so personalized. So I can, I'll find the solutions to make my life much easier.
Mhm.
Yeah. Here in the UK, there is actually, certainly on a technology trend front, a lot of the businesses are moving to a 4-day work week if you work in technology.
Yeah.
So I don't know, again, if that's something that has landed your side, but
Not yet.
I know plenty of technology businesses that are working 4 days a week
Yeah.
on the basis that it's this SaaS model. It's not about having someone managing them there and a human to answer your questions. It's quite interesting. So we don't go that far here. We do 10 over 9.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
staff get every second Friday off. So you get
That's great.
25 days extra a year. But that's a really interesting technology trend that obviously from a work-life balance is really quite disruptive in the broader kind of landscape.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I think I feel like that's a win-win for society. I think, only good things can come from that. If it's more time with the kids, or if it's more time to, volunteer with something, or if it's, more time for your own well-being, maybe it's you take up surfing, whatever it is, I just think that only good can come from something like that. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not nearly as hopeful. One thing that I've learned, even on a personal level, whenever someone's given me more time, I haven't used it to get away from work. I've used it to get access into other avenues of raising money. I just don't think we're built in a way. I think we come from a different world where we're like, how do we get to the next level? I think the generations before us, and the ones before them especially, are going to be infinitely more geared towards quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think also
Yeah,
it depends on where your financial situation is. If you say, great, I can do my work in 4 days and get paid the same, I've got another day to take up another job and work, so which means I get more money this week.
Wait, how much are they paying you for this podcast? We're the same people.
Yeah.
Why are you not worried about it? But I do have an answer for you. I don't know the name of the device. I tried to do a quick Google search for it, but I saw a video of this and I thought this would have truly revolutionized the way I had done everything from a child till now. It's a wearable device, and what it does is it allows you to be in a room with people speaking 10 different languages all at once, and it translates them all in real time into English.
Oh, wow.
The possibility,
Phone.
the things
like a little
they did,
headphone. Yeah.
there were so many other things they did. It's almost too powerful. Like they could say, isolate the room. I don't want to hear any of these other people. Just focus on the voice of the person in front of me. And it would dull all their voices out. So you could only hear that person. Or it could say, I want to hear what that person at the other table across the room is saying. And it could just make that crystal clear and isolate all the other sound around you. That's not the part that I'm excited about. Part I thought would have been great is imagine if you were a young person and you wanted to travel to another country. The biggest barrier you have is how am I going to do it? Like we didn't grow up with tools where you could translate.
Or an old person. My mother-in-law and father-in-law went to Japan.
That's it.
I was like, what? Braver than me. How are you going to get around? How are you going to talk to people?
Yeah. Yeah, it exists, and they're affordable, I believe. Like you can get that stuff already.
I think
the
this
translation,
one is,
but the one you're talking about's got doing everything.
Yeah,
but even just the translation, or even just I've got a friend with hearing aids in that are Bluetooth hearing aids and connected to Siri. It's connected to everything, and he just has that in his ear, and it allows him to do so many extra things. Like allowing.
But it's not real time. That's the new technology.
Yeah,
so what they do is they listen, process, and put it into your ear. This will just give people the ability. You can communicate back with them.
Yeah. Let's not even talk about the medical, the medical tech that can change the world as well. That excites me.
One of our biggest clients here is the biggest mattress company in the UK, and I think just on that topic, the type of sleep stuff that you can get now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about sleeping; it's about your quality of sleep, about the temperature you're at, about the firmness, and like you can completely and utterly. And I wear a watch that gives me a few readings, but if you're into kind of data and you're into kind of your statistics and performance and all those type of things, the stuff that you're able to access now. And it goes back to that other point, because no doubt the data is being generated. Someone's probably going to be using it other than just you.
Yeah.
But it creates this whole other kind of world where you can start to optimize your own personal performance.
Yes. God, yes. My husband's currently biohacking his body.
He's always optimizing in some way.
He's always optimizing. He's like the optimizer. He is. And I've been, dragged along on the ride for it. So I'm, on all these vitamins. I'm sleeping on a grounding blanket, which like grounds me from technology. So I'm avoiding technology and I have to remove everything. All, phones off, Wi-Fi, everything on the other side of the room. I'm grounding at night while I sleep. Daytime, I'm taking in tablets and I'm surrounding myself with technology and wearable watches and all sorts.
Just easy. I spent the night away from the kids last night and slept brilliantly. So that generally
that
works. No 4 a.m. wake up.
Remove children.
I do want to reel it back. I feel like we've gone off a couple
We have
different.
gone off topic, but I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the chat.
I am too.
I don't know if the audience is, but I'm
That's
enjoying
exactly
it. We're enjoying ourselves.
I've noticed in the back of your wall is something that stands out to me, and it's really relevant to today's market, especially relevant for me managing a company that's operating all around the world. How do you sustain a culture, especially when it sounds like you have a working from home model? Is that a fair assumption?
Hybrid. We got a hybrid model, so we have
Hybrid
staff
model.
come in two days a week, and then the rest of the time they can work from home or wherever they want to work from.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, to the best part of 100 of us in the company, but only got 50 desks.
Yep.
So there's a very kind of corporate financial decision in there, which we've made the decision that we're not going to have twice as much space, and we're going to bank that money. But also because I know my staff over the last 2, 3, 4 years, we've found kind of the nice biting point.
Mhm.
So how do we sustain the culture? Well, I think we employ a lot of kind of young people coming out of university, apprenticeship. So I think there has to be the osmosis of learning. Sit next to your boss, sit next to someone with experience and learn how to do the job. That's kind of the 2 days. Collaboration in team. You've got a challenge, you've got a problem, you've got a pitch, you've got whatever. Again, you need straight after this, I'm off to go talk about a pitch meeting. You've got to get together because you've got to get the juices flowing and so forth. So I think the other things are, lots of social and culture events.
Yep.
Genuinely trying to kind of show up for your team and be there. I'd say we talk about 10 over 9. They get every second Friday off.
Yeah.
Pretty cool,
Yeah.
right? That's something I have to really work hard. Have to plan hard. You can't just turn up and do that. We're largely in a tech and service industry.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, again, being really clear and demonstrating I am really trying my best for the staff.
Yeah.
Right. And I think on the main, and we do lots of feedback and surveys, I think they understand that I'm trying my best. Sometimes I have to make some tough decisions. Sometimes I say no to things that they want or they want to do, or I say, no, we haven't got the money. We're not going to do that. It's too expensive. We might do it next month, whatever. But in the main, I think it's about, we are a people-based business.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a people-based business, you have to acknowledge then your people have got to be happy, they've got to be motivated, they've got to be engaged, they've got to be supported. You have to try and put many of those mechanisms in play as possible and measure yourself. So we do an engagement survey every 6 months, and the best thing in there is the feedback, the verbatim feedback they write, because then you know exactly we're not doing this, we should be doing this. If you do this, then this happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Feedback mechanisms, I think, are critical. Taken a few training courses, and they always say the companies that succeed are the ones that actually listen to the actual experience and act on that information. So I could definitely see that as a fantastic tool to leverage to maintain business. But I also always draw back on my military experience. You know what I mean? Something we did there is we trained not like 1 day a week, not 2 days a week. It's 5 days a week, because how good are you really going to be if you're not treating this as a full-time responsibility? Because people slip, right? You think about a company that has driving culture over here that has people operating 5 days a week in the office versus a company over here that's got people driving it 2 days of the week, because, right, it's kind of hard to run these things when you're not actually there, right? Do you feel that there is a propensity for businesses to have a slip in the culture when you don't have that
Yeah.
hands-on with your staff?
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm here today. I've yacht around the country to make sure that I'm in, tomorrow's biggest retail day of the year for Black Friday.
Mhm.
Although a lot of the staff will be working from home because it's a kind of a heads down kind of affair, right? If you're buying media and trying to sell product.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be here. It's not fair to say you've got to go 2 days and I'll go here and I'll go there, but I won't, so that's why I'm here. But the reality is, like, on our values, I think kindness is the key one for me. And I think there's a really interesting concept around kindness, because I think it's different to being nice. And that's something we have really tried to instill in the business. Being nice is kind of taking the path of least resistance, telling people what they want to hear, keeping the status quo. Being kind is telling people what they need to know, right? And that goes back to the feedback element. And so being kind is it may be having those hard conversations. It may be spending a bit more time thinking about a certain issue, a topic, a person, but actually you've invested. you've tried to come with some solutions and some ideas that resolves a problem that will eventually get you. And in our industry as well, we're performance industry. The graphs have pretty much usually got to go up. So it's pretty easy to tell whether we're doing a good job or a bad job, right? Because every quarter, every week, every month, there is a graph that says, are we selling more? Are we selling less? What's the return on investment? And what's the satisfaction amongst our clients?
What would you say takes priority? Culture or performance?
Well, I thought you were going to say culture or strategy, and I'm a big believer in there's a famous phrase that culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's culture or strategy, I would take culture all day. Give me people who are motivated, engaged, and whatever. In terms of performance, in our industry, one of the things I like is there's no hiding places.
Yeah.
You're paid to do a job, and that is to deliver a return on investment and deliver year-on-year sales.
Yep.
That's good. It makes it very easy to know what your job and your remit is, and it's very measurable.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a good job, you'll move the needle and you'll grow. And actually, and also there's macroeconomic things, there's things that you can't predict. But in the main, it's a pretty cut and dry place to work. It's pretty clear. Everyone's got their shoulder to the wheel, and everyone's going in the same direction.
The other word on your wall there is passion, and that's something that I love hearing about from business owners. I can tell you're passionate, but what drives you? What keeps you going in this business? No doubt there would have been challenges over the years. Maybe it's a challenging time at the moment, but yeah, what drives you?
If I'm honest, it's the people. So the people at Summit. So we're I say, depending on who you count and what you count, let's say we're 90 people here. So we're the biggest agency for 50 miles around in the UK. So we're the agency here, we're in a lovely place called Hull on the East Coast. We're a city, but we're a small city. But this isn't necessarily where you come to work in digital. In the UK, you go to London, you go to Manchester, you go to Leeds, you go to Edinburgh. They're the hubs, right? And for every one Summit and Productcaster that we have here, they've got 10 or 20 of our size scale doing similar things. So what drives me the fact that, a lot of people who come here, a lot of people who've worked here for a long time, a lot of people who I trust and work closely with. I mean, it's a family business, but it's not a family business in the sense that, everyone who's been here, if you clocked up we don't have a high attrition rate. Staff generally stay for many, many, many years. And if they decide to go, they generally get clapped out the building, and, we all stay friends. And so winning with my colleagues and with some peers and with some friends who I've been at the coalface for a long time with is about as satisfying as it gets.
I love that. I wish I was clapped out of a
And
building.
that answers the question of, culture versus performance. You've just answered it there. You're not saying I love delivering for clients. It's the people, it's the culture. So yeah.
It's the people.
Do they make
and
it?
We are developing people. We have a lot of kind of entry level talent who come in, straight out of university, straight out of school. We bring them in, and I think someone said something talking about the difference between kind of, mentoring and different attitudes. And actually, if they do decide to leave us to further their career, kind of generally my mindset is I'm very proud for them. I'm proud we gave you the start. I'm proud we trained you up, and I'm proud this other company has come and has poached you, right? I don't want you to go, and I will try and keep you, but I'm, at the same time, you're doing a good thing. You're doing your job, and we're doing ours, and we should be proud of the efforts that we're making. And I think particularly that's why I'm quite passionate about young people. I'm part of I'm on the board of another business or a not-for-profit called What You Know Digital, which would be a totally other conversation. But we're training 600 young people who have been kind of left behind by the system to a certain extent. We give them 12 weeks in digital training. And then our entire job, we get judged on how many people sign up, how many people finish the course, how many interviews we get them, and how many jobs we place them in. And it is an amazing business,
That's a fantastic
It's not a business
model.
because it's a not-for-profit, but it's an amazing thing to be a part of. And again, that would be a whole other conversation, which would be really interesting.
Yeah, we'd love to have you join us another day to chat about that. That sounds great. We'd love. It's always great to have fresh minds.
The CEO from that particular
Yeah.
organisation.
Hook us up. Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also,
Right.
we don't usually hear from that many not-for-profits in the tech space.
We definitely
there's
do
not
not.
that many not-for-profit techs that we chat to. So that
Yeah.
sounds amazing. Obviously, people are a huge part of your business there. But we always like to ask our guests if there's any technology that you couldn't live without in terms of your company.
Is there any technology we couldn't live without? To be honest with you, I do a fair amount of traveling. So when I'm away, I'm addicted to my phone, absolutely addicted to it, because I can be clients and people are WhatsApping me, I'm getting a lot of Microsoft Team messages, I'm getting emails, I'm getting phone calls, and it's a bit like a drug. And I know but then when I step back home and I go through my front door, I just chuck it in a drawer. I don't want it, because actually, it's a bit of a safety blanket when I'm away, but when I'm at home, it's like the least important thing when I'm not working. So it's a bit of I have a love-hate relationship with my phone, because I know at certain points in time I'm checking it. I don't need to check it. I've got a whole great team of people ready to jump on things, but I'm kind of pre-programmed to be in a bit of a service industry, to be in a technology where you get P1 issues, priority one issues, all that type. I'm programmed to kind of battle hardened to deal with the next challenge.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're just waiting for it. And I don't think that is particularly healthy.
Yeah, I'm the same. I've got that love-hate. I think a lot of people have that now.
Guilty.
Yeah,
But it's great that people
technology hygiene.
recognize that, I think.
Yeah,
Because I
definitely.
think there'll be a point where, we all acknowledge there's a way to do things, and it isn't go on your phone and sit there with your wife and scroll,
Yeah.
and then go to bed and do the
You
same in
look
the
at
morning.
people at dinner, and both of them are just on their phone. I'm like, oh God, that can't be me. I can't do that. Obviously, the phone's a huge piece of technology, but is there any software or anything that you couldn't live without in the company?
I mean, again, I don't want to go too technical, but
You can go technical.
we're a very Google focused business.
Mm.
And Google in the last 2 years have launched, completely revolutionized marketing, this thing called PMax. And PMax essentially looks across all of the Google estate. So it can be YouTube, it can be Gmail, it can be search advertising, text, blah, blah, blah. But lots of different inventory that it can sell to you. And PMax brings all of that inventory into one campaign for you and does it through a black box. A lot of marketers saying, "Oh, we don't like the black box. The black box is going to replace us and gives Google too much control," and et cetera, et cetera. But actually, you can control the black box by what you put in, and then what you decide comes out. But I think that has been absolutely revolutionary, and I think for us, it's fundamental when we go into pitch, when we talk to our clients. If you are active on Google and Google is a really significant channel for you in retail, well, PMax is going to be a really significant kind of part of that budget, probably 75% of the budget. So for us, that has been amazing, because we kind of consider ourselves to be the home of PMax. We've got across Summit and Productcaster, we've got £500 million of advertising running through it. So we lean into that rather than, I guess, fight against it.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you said other marketers are, scared of it replacing them. But that's great that you're embracing it. It's like AI, tech, tech guys are kind of maybe a bit scared that it might be replacing them. But if those that actually lean into it and use it to their advantage, can see the benefits.
It's my personal hate response from anyone. I'm worried this is going to take our jobs. It's like the same people who thought this when they were manually tilling fields when the tractor came. And those people are never looking back like, just wish they could put me back in the fields.
Yeah.
Right? That's what these jobs are going to feel like for people
frees up
40
time
years in the
for
future.
you, and you can put your skills to use elsewhere. Yeah.
The irony is there was a survey again by Gartner, and essentially, responders came back and said, in fact, I think it was by the PPC survey group. They came back and said, actually, it's taking more time to get it right. We're reaching more customers, getting more results, but it's not hands off the wheel, forget about it. It actually takes more time than using the old thing, which was supposedly a manual thing. Yeah. So, swings and roundabouts, right? You find your way to contribute the value that you get paid for.
Yep. And last question here. What are you most excited about in terms of the future, or the future of tech as well?
What am I most excited about? To be honest with you, this is boring answer, but I think tech can be quite scary, right? In particular, I think the biggest kind of grey area concern I have is for young people, their use of it, how it's becoming kind of just permeating every part of their life. And, there's so, there's so much life to be had, places to go, fun to be had, people to be met. Part of the thing around the office that we talked about earlier is, you know, there's a good chance some people, they're going to meet their best friend here, they're going to meet their wife or husband here, they're going to meet their long term, and I think there needs to be, and I think this is where the EU are doing okay. It sounds like I think Australia have made some really good stuff. I think there needs to be some protections from these things. It is a bit like a drug, certainly in terms of social media and in terms of, you want to live in the real world. You don't want to live in the virtual world because, more often than not, the real world, if you go in with the right attitude, is going to be a fun place for you. So I think helping people find the balance is going to be really key. And I think over the course of the next 10 years, I think it could swing too far, with all the things that are coming. So there needs to be some protections. And, I'm quite excited to see how this ecosystem shapes up, particularly with a lot of kind of jurisdictions, legal regulation things. They will have to make some policy around this. What policy they make, I don't know.
Well, look, before we wrap it up, I'd love for our listeners to know a little bit more about where they can find you, hear more about your product. Why don't you take a moment to sort of plug the system and help people find where you are?
Do you know the irony? I'm not on any social media. I purged it.
You're on LinkedIn, aren't you? You're on
I'm
LinkedIn.
on
I think I found you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, if you, yes, I'm on LinkedIn. Martin Corcoran, Summit Media. But I see LinkedIn as an info channel and a sales channel more than anything, not an opinions channel. I'm not going to get any opinions from me.
True.
And then also, just summitmedia.com, productcaster.com, those places. And if you wanted to talk more around what we can do and how we can help, we would very much appreciate any inbounds. That'd be great.
Most certainly. I wonder if he's saying he doesn't need social media because he set up the search engine in such a way where everything filters to him regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish. We've got something like 4 billion products on Productcaster, so that is if I need to buy something, I can go there.
Yeah.
Fair. It's
Love
been
that.
an absolute pleasure.
We'll come to you for our Christmas shopping list.
Most certainly.
Please do. Yeah.
Thank you, Martin. It's been wonderful chatting with you. Really appreciate it and really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, the banter was good. And thank you for the questions. Appreciate it.
That.
No, thank you for having me. It was really interesting.
Enjoy the cold UK weather.
Yeah,
I will.
Megan, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning into the Tech Panel. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, Codeworthy, for powering today's episode. And join us again on the next episode of the Tech Panel, where tech minds meet.